Atlantis. No other name holds such power over the human imagination. It is a whisper of a lost golden age, a ghost of a world that was, and then, in an instant, was not. For centuries we have searched for it in the depths of our oceans and the far corners of our maps. But the search for Atlantis does not begin with a map. It begins with a story. A story first told over 2,000 years ago by one of the greatest minds in human history, the Greek philosopher, Plato. Around 360 BCE, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato unveiled the tale of a magnificent island civilization. He claimed the story was ancient, passed down from the Athenian statesman Solon, who had heard it from Egyptian priests. It was, he insisted, a true history of a forgotten time. According to Plato, Atlantis was an island larger than Libya and Asia combined, situated in the Atlantic Ocean, just beyond the Pillars of Hercules. It was a kingdom founded by Poseidon, the god of the sea himself. He fell in love with a mortal woman, Clito, and to protect her, he broke the land into a series of perfect, concentric rings of land and water, a fortress of divine design. Here their descendants, half god and half human, built a utopian society. A civilization of unimaginable wealth, where gold, silver, and a mysterious metal called orichalcum were abundant. Their cities were marvels of engineering, with great canals, towering temples, and palaces that shone with otherworldly light. They were a naval power unlike any the world had ever seen, their influence stretching across the seas. Plato's description of Atlantis was not just of a wealthy empire, but of a society that had achieved a state of grace. For generations, the Atlanteans lived in harmony. Their divine nature, inherited from Poseidon, guided their actions. They were virtuous, wise, and looked upon their vast wealth with indifference. They valued virtue above all else. They understood that their prosperity came not from their gold, but from their unity and their moral clarity. Their laws were just, their people were content, and their society was a beacon of enlightenment in the ancient world. Imagine a city where architecture and nature existed in perfect balance, where grand temples dedicated to the gods stood beside lush, sacred groves, where citizens, both men and women, received education in philosophy, arts, and sciences far beyond our own understanding. This was the utopia Plato painted, a world where humanity had achieved its highest potential. But as we explore this perfect world, a question begins to form, a question that has haunted historians, archaeologists, and dreamers for millennia. Was Plato describing a real place? A memory of a lost civilization preserved in myth? Or was he creating something else entirely? A story with a purpose, a lesson hidden within the legend. The answer lies not in what Atlantis was, but in what it became. Perfection is a fragile thing, and in Plato's telling, the divine spark within the Atlanteans began to fade. For many generations, their divine nature kept their human desires in check. But as the bloodline thinned, as their mortal side grew stronger, the seeds of corruption took root. Their virtue began to erode. They started to covet their wealth. Greed replaced wisdom. Ambition replaced harmony. The once noble people of Atlantis, Plato tells us, became filled with unrighteous avarice and power. Their ambition turned outward. The great naval power that had once been a force for peace now became an engine of conquest. Atlantis launched an imperialistic war, seeking to enslave the nations of the Mediterranean, including Plato's own ancestral Athens. This was their hubris, their fatal flaw. They had forgotten that they were mortal, and in their arrogance they challenged the very gods who had given them life. And the gods took notice. Zeus, the king of the gods, saw the moral decay of this once great civilization and gathered the other deities. He declared that a punishment must be delivered, a lesson that would echo through eternity. And so, in Plato's chilling words, there came one terrible night of fire and earthquakes. The earth shook, the seas rose, the heavens themselves seemed to fall upon the island. In a single, violent cataclysm, the magnificent city of Atlantis, with all its people and all its wonders, was swallowed by the sea, vanishing from the face of the earth, never to be seen again. Plato's story ends there. A civilization erased, a cautionary tale of a paradise lost. But for the rest of the world, this was just the beginning of the search. If a civilization so grand could vanish overnight, surely it must have left a trace. For 2,000 years, this idea has fueled countless expeditions and inspired endless theories. Explorers have scoured the globe, from the coast of Spain to the depths of Antarctica, each hoping to be the one to find the lost city. But of all the theories, one has captured the attention of scientists and historians more than any other. It is a theory that takes us from the mythical Atlantic Ocean to the very real Aegean Sea, to an island known today as Santorini. Around 1600 BCE, this island, then known as Thera, was home to a thriving outpost of the Minoan civilization. The Minoans were a highly advanced Bronze Age culture based on the nearby island of Crete. They were master sailors, talented artists, and brilliant engineers. Their cities were sophisticated, their trade networks vast. They were, in many ways, a real-life version of the advanced civilization Plato described. And then, they vanished. Thera was a volcano, and in 1600 BCE, it erupted with a force 100 times more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. It was one of the largest volcanic events in human history. The eruption blew the center out of the island, creating the massive caldera we see today. It triggered colossal tsunamis that radiated across the Aegean, slamming into the coast of Crete and wiping out Minoan settlements. The parallels are striking. A powerful, advanced island civilization destroyed in a single cataclysmic event involving earthquakes and floods. Could this be it? Could the memory of the Minoan collapse, passed down through generations, have been the seed from which Plato grew his story of Atlantis? It is a compelling idea, but it has one massive problem: the timeline. Plato was very specific. He said Atlantis was destroyed 9,000 years before his time. The eruption of Thera happened only about 900 years before Plato wrote his dialogues. The numbers simply don't add up. So if Santorini isn't Atlantis, then what was Plato really talking about? The search for a physical Atlantis may be a search for the wrong thing. To understand the true meaning of the story, we must remember who its author was. Plato was not a historian. He was a philosopher. And philosophers tell stories not to record the past, but to teach us about the present. Most modern scholars agree, Atlantis was an invention. A brilliant, elaborate myth created by Plato to serve as a cautionary tale. It was a vehicle for his most cherished philosophical ideas: the dangers of hubris, the corrupting influence of power, and the ideal nature of a just society. And in this tale, Atlantis was not the hero. The hero of Plato's story was ancient Athens. In his narrative, it is the small, virtuous, and perfectly governed state of Athens that single-handedly stands against the mighty, corrupt Atlantean Empire and wins. The story of Atlantis was created to glorify Athens, to present it as the model society that Plato dreamed of. Atlantis was its dark reflection, a representation of what happens when a society loses its moral compass. It was a warning to Plato's own city, a reminder that no matter how powerful or wealthy a nation becomes, it is nothing without virtue. This is why the story has survived. A simple historical account of a sunken city would be a footnote, but a myth about the eternal struggle between wisdom and greed, between humility and hubris. That is a story that never dies. So, if Atlantis was never real, why are we still so obsessed with it? Why has this 2,000-year-old story spawned countless books, movies, and expeditions? The answer is as deep and mysterious as the ocean itself. We are drawn to the idea of a lost golden age, a time when humanity was better, wiser, and more in tune with the universe. We yearn for the possibility of forgotten knowledge, of secrets buried beneath the waves that could change everything we know about our past. The story of Atlantis is a mirror. In its rise, we see our own ambitions, our own technological marvels, our own capacity for greatness. And in its fall, we see our deepest fears, that our own civilization, with all its power and all its pride, could one day vanish in an instant. From the tales of ancient Greece to the blockbusters of modern Hollywood, the legend has been retold and reimagined, each generation adding its own hopes and fears to the myth. It has become a symbol for all that we have lost, and all that we still hope to find. In the end, it doesn't matter whether Atlantis was a real place of rock and stone. Its true location is not on any map. It is a city built in the depths of the human imagination, a story that reminds us of the eternal dance between creation and destruction, virtue and corruption, and the humbling power of nature. Atlantis is not a place to be found. It is a story to be told. And it is a story that will be told forever. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of the myth. If you were captivated by the mystery of Atlantis, please subscribe to HistoriON channel and turn on notifications for more deep dives into history's greatest legends. What do you believe? Was Atlantis real, a myth, or something in between? Let us know your theory in the comments below. To show you've joined our quest for lost knowledge, comment with the word orichalcum. Your engagement helps us continue to explore these timeless stories. Thank you for watching.